Years later, the ambassador from Croatia to the United States was in the United States in Galveston, which I had a project down there. And I entertained him for a couple days, and he invited me back to Croatia. We're about to leave this airport, Frankfurt, and head to Dubrovnik, Croatia, where the journey will begin. Well, I sat next to a very large woman.
How large was she?
Large enough that part of her skin matter was below and above the armrest.
With the adipose tissue.
And every time she coughed, it spewed all over my left arm. And in my meal.
Do we need to test you for tuberculosis?
I don't know, man. That pissed me off. I'm telling you. That's the worst thing, coming over there when you see somebody sitting in your seat. Half your seat and all theirs. You know it's going to be a bad 10 hours. I invested in some property in Croatia with another gentleman. And it came with a whole portfolio. And it was supposed to, I thought it was only a part of a hotel, but it ended up part of the village. And it was part of the village of this little seaside village called Supetar. So I remember once we had closed on the transaction that I went over into Supetar and was sitting in the harbor. And I'm sitting there, and one of the guys that works in one of the bars in this resort, it's a 1,500 room resort, and has all kinds of other assets that comes with it. And he came up to me, and we started talking, and in that conversation, he told me he was a lawyer, and I said, well, you're the bartender at the hotel? And he goes, yeah. And he was a tall Croatian guy, good-looking guy, about 28, well-spoken. I said, well, you're 28, you're a good-looking guy, and you're a lawyer, and you graduated top in your class. Why aren't you going to Paris or London to work? Why do you want to live right here in this village? Because this is where my family is. This is who we are. Why would I want to go somewhere else? I was so fascinated by that statement. But every day I would go down the harbor and I would spend all day, and I would take notes and pictures. And then I started categorizing the pictures. And I started trying to understand the movement of people up and down the streets and where they lived and what was their real purpose. And then I started going up and down the coastline, taking pictures and videos and really trying to understand why people loved living in their village. Why were they a community?
In a village-based community, everyone is more, they're close, they're bonded, they're more interconnected, where everyone has a specific role, a specific part to play in each other's lives. One thing I learned during my studies of the Amazonian people is that people who live in the village community, they actually thrive and flourish because of their well-established interrelationships they have with their people there and each other.
It's difficult to develop relationships with people that you don't see. It's difficult to develop relationships with people with whom you don't interact on a daily basis. It's difficult to develop relationships with people for whom your only perception of them is a stereotype. When you actually live, work, interact on a daily basis with people from a variety of socioeconomic levels, that's when you realize that the common values, the common beliefs, the common humanity that we share that binds us together, it's not segregated by who lives in an apartment complex, who lives in a multi-$100,000 home.
My background is developing 15,000 residential home sites, developing commercial properties, office parks, industrial parks, resorts, manufacturing in China, technology, all these things that I've done in my career, but just fascinating me. Now I get it. I get it. It's this little fishing village, like all the other villages, they evolved over time. And based on the evolution of how they evolved, everything had purpose. The people went to the centerpiece of this village to get information, to eat, to go to the market, to go to the bakery, but it all functioned as one. I hear it all the time. They go to this little village up in Tuscany and say, oh, I'd like to live there, but they don't know why they want to live there. That's what I was after. What is it about that person? What in that inner soul wants to live there?
It's a spirit that is comprised of all the buildings, all the people, all the, not only the architecture, but all the nature, and that spirit is the culmination of all those factors put together. It creates an environment that is in harmony with one's spirit. It creates an environment that allows one to breathe, that allows one to grow, that allows one to thrive.
And once I learned that, I said, I want to come back to America and do it. So I came back to the United States, sold almost every project I had, and I said, I am going to build a village.
I think that takes a lot of guts to do what Jeff did, to be probably one of the most successful developers in the United States with over 15,000 developments that he had done, high-end, low-end, luxury, condominiums, townhomes, to say, I'm doing it wrong, and I want to stop doing what we're doing to do what's right. And I think that's really the heart of a visionary, just to be so impassioned with what he believes in that he's willing to say, I'm going to give it all up to follow what I know is right. And that's what he's done. That's what he's done with this whole concept that he's introducing to the United States. It's a concept that when you fully understand it, it rings true inside you. When you finally get what he's trying to say, you will realize that's the way it should be. That's what we're missing.
I had to do it that way because our financial market doesn't understand what I just said. And for me to go to an institutional investor or the financial market and say, hey, I want to go spend $200 million or $300 million to do a project, they would just say, well, show me an example of it and then we'll finance it.